Hello and welcome. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. Today we're going to talk about cryptocurrency news. Warren Buffett regrets Google. Will he regret Bitcoin? Bitcoin Google search volume skyrockets, and the IRS refuses GAO, the Government Accounting Office, clarification. Wow, we got a day. Let's get into it. Can we get 99 likes on this video? Help us out and smash the like button. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is my opinion. So, Warren Buffett regrets passing on Google. Is he making the same mistake with Bitcoin? The legendary investor Warren Buffett and his firm Berkshire Hathaway knew about Google way ago, a long time ago. They had direct information early on about how lucrative its business would be, but decided to pass on investing in the internet search giant. Buffett says he's really regretting that decision now. Google has become one of the very few $1 trillion market cap U.S. companies. You could count them all on one hand. An investment of $500 million in 2013 would have grown in value to nearly $2.5 billion today. Is Warren Buffett repeating the same mistake all over again with Bitcoin, or even making a far costly investment blunder? So here's some quotes from Warren Buffett and some of his people. Just imagine having something that every time you just click the cash register rings somewhere around California. A year later, he told CNBC, "I should have got Google. It's great to find something that costs a penny and sells for $1 and is habit forming. This doesn't cost anything and it's very useful." And then another quote. This comes from Warren Buffett's partner Charlie Munger, and he said, "We could see in our own operations how well Google advertising was working, and we just sat there sucking our thumbs. I feel like a horse's blank for not identifying Google. I think Warren feels the same way. We screwed up." Buffett added, he's saying we blew it. Buffett's cold attitude towards Bitcoin. Now, there's one important way it's different, though. Bitcoin isn't regulated like Google. It never has been. It's also worth noting that Bitcoin is not a company. It's not making revenues. And it doesn't have annual financial reports or forecasts. But if Google was a manifestation of the world's wide web, then surely Bitcoin is a manifestation of blockchain technology. So is Warren Buffett right for not investing in Bitcoin? And why is it that Warren Buffett, this legendary investor, has been so negative on Bitcoin, calling it rat poison squared? Could it be because he has a bias against anything that would threaten the financial industry? Because Bitcoin definitely in its own way is a threat to financial markets. Well, let's take a look. This is Warren Buffett's portfolio. What is it that Warren Buffett owns, and how much of his money is invested in those things? So, valued at $214 billion, the equity portfolio of Warren Buffett consists of 48 stocks as of the end of third quarter 2019. Almost half of the portfolio was invested in financial services stocks, 45.79%, while the technology sector has a weight of 27.33%, and the consumer defensive space represents 14.99%. So in other words, Buffett's largest 5 holdings as the end of the quarter, that's just a few months ago, like when was that? October of 2019, and today is February 2020. His largest holdings were Apple, Bank of America, Coca-Cola, Wells Fargo, and American Express. And so with him heavily invested with 45.79% of his investments in different financial services such as Wells Fargo, Bank of America, American Express, etc., you can understand that anything that would be a threat to banks or to credit cards could be a threat to his portfolio. And so while he's obviously, with almost half of his money invested in banks or credit card companies, you can understand why he would consider something like Bitcoin bogus, just because this is where his mind is at, is on Bank of America, Wells Fargo, American Express, etc. And so maybe he has a bias against Bitcoin that's not founded in Bitcoin's true value. So anyway, just a thought. Like I said before, this is just my opinion, and time will tell whether or not Warren Buffett has made another good decision like he has with his portfolio, or if he's made a bad decision like he did with Google. Search volume for Bitcoin hits records, its highest levels since June of 2019. So it's interesting, we just talked about Google with Warren Buffett. Now we're going to talk about Google with search volume for Bitcoin. The largest digital asset began the year trading at $7,170. At the time of this writing, Bitcoin's price is at $10,350, making an increase of 44% in less than 44 days. That is spectacular. Most people would love to get 44% in a single year, but getting 44% in a month and 14 days, basically a month and a half, wow, that's impressive. I don't know of many investments that even have the ability to do that, let alone actually did that. Significant price movements generally attract attention from the masses. Google Trends confirms this. Search for Bitcoins are increasing in the last week. Moreover, the last time they were this high during the first week of August 2019, as crypto reported in early January 2020. Nigeria, South Africa, Austria, Ghana, Switzerland were the top 5 countries searching for Bitcoin. Interesting, all of them are still delivering the most searches. And so the vast majority of the searches isn't coming out of the United States, it's coming out of foreign countries. And that's why I think with a lot of people that I talk to here in the United States, they seem to have a lot of people don't seem to have a very positive viewpoint of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And I think that's skewed because we don't know what's going on in the rest of the world when it comes to cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of countries out there where their finances are not as, in America, everybody has a bank account and almost everybody has credit cards. And almost everybody has debit cards. And so banking and finance in the United States it works, it's easy, it's convenient. Most people can access it. Most people have bank accounts. Whereas in other countries such as Nigeria, South Africa, Austria, Ghana, Switzerland, Switzerland and Austria probably don't fit what I'm about to say. But in many parts of the world, banking is not as good as it is in the U.S. And so those countries where banking is, half the population does not have a bank account, or 2/3 of the population does not have a bank account, but they have cell phones. And so in those areas, because they have cell phones, they have access to cryptocurrency. And so a lot of those countries where a majority of the people, 50% or more, don't have bank accounts, they're getting very interested and are one of the fastest growing areas in the world when it comes to cryptocurrency. The other flip side of the coin is there's a lot of countries where inflation is out of sight. Venezuela has had as much as a 1 million% inflation in a single year. That's like going to work on Monday, and by the end of the week, what you thought was going to be enough money to pay rent is only enough money for a meal. It's just crazy, the inflation. And so a lot of people in countries where inflation is out of control are switching from their local currencies to using things like cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies specifically. And so Because we don't see that in the United States, a lot of people that I know aren't aware of what really is driving the growth of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in a big way around the world. And so it just seems like pie in the sky when they see Bitcoin hitting new all-time highs. But they need to understand that some of those new all-time highs are not being driven by the U.S. market, but rather are being driven by markets in other countries. And because other countries drive the price up, we don't seem to see the effects or the hair-on-fire problems that Bitcoin is solving. In the United States, there isn't really a hair-on-fire problem that Bitcoin solves. But if you lived in Venezuela, you have a hair-on-fire problem called inflation that Bitcoin solves. Or if you live in Nigeria or India or China, you may have a hair-on-fire problem called I don't have a bank account, and that Bitcoin can help solve. And so there are other places all around the world where Bitcoin is providing solutions that people are actually utilizing, and a lot of that use is actually driving the price of Bitcoin up. And so because people don't see it, they see the price of Bitcoin going up and think, oh, this is just some sort of money grab, when the reality is Bitcoin is solving hair-on-fire problems for people in other parts of the world. And it's those solutions that Bitcoin is providing that provides its base strength in price. That's why when you look throughout Bitcoin's 10-year history, the lowest price of any particular year was not reached in any year following that. In other words, the lowest price of 2010, Bitcoin's never hit it again. And then the lowest price of 2011, Bitcoin has not hit it again, et cetera, all the way up to 2019. The lowest price of 2019 so far, Bitcoin hasn't gone down to that price level yet. And so that would be pretty significant if it did, but I don't see Bitcoin going down to $3,500. I think that's quite unlikely, especially when we're just now hitting 44% increases in 44 days. So Bitcoin is surging on Google, and in terms of search, people all over the world are searching for Bitcoin right now. Another thing about the Bitcoin search is that also shows retail investment in interest in Bitcoin. So this price surge is not just institutions, it's actually individuals who are getting involved and have an interest in Bitcoin. All right, so the IRS refused to clarify that its crypto tax guidance isn't binding. So a lot of people thought that what the IRS provided clarification several months ago on cryptocurrency tax, but what they didn't tell anybody is that it isn't binding, or that parts of it are not binding. And this is from the GAO, which is the Government Accountability Office, a U.S. Congress watchdog, in response to a request from Representative Kevin Brady evaluating the IRS's existing approach and public guidance surrounding cryptocurrencies. The office had 3 recommendations for the U.S. tax collector, as well as additional related recommendation for the Financial Crimes Enforcement Unit, a bureau of the U.S. Treasury Department. Notably, one of its recommendations was to clarify that some of the IRS's recent guidance is not binding or authoritative, and the agency rejected this recommendation. And so you may want to take a look at this. Some of the things that the IRS has said may not be binding, and may, anyway, until the government kind of works all of that out through its own processes, I would stick with whatever your tax professional is advising you to do when it comes to your IRS and cryptocurrency tax situation. So that's our video for today. How can I be of service to you? Do you have any questions? Is there anything that you'd like me to answer or elaborate on? Do you disagree with anything that I said? Look, you know things I don't know. I know things you don't know. And when we get together and share what we know, we're going to grow smarter together. So I hope you'll share what you know and share what you'd like to know more about, and we'll move forward. We'll grow smarter together. In the meantime, Like, subscribe, and hodl, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.